Greetings, customers. So we're going to do a bit of baking. We're going to make some like biscuity sort of cracker type things. Okay, we're going to be using sesame seeds again, but the main focus, if you like, of these crackers or biscuits or whatever you want to call them is going to be a cheese and salt flavour. Okay, we've got 2 cheeses to go into this. Okay, and it's just going to be topped with some sesame seeds. So the sesame seeds aren't like, you know, before all in it and everything like that. So that's what we're going to make. So we're going to start by taking some softened butter, got 125 grams of that. You're going to need a good teaspoon of salt. I've got my pink Himalayan salt there. I've got 60 grams of soft spreadable cheese, so like brie. So I've got a bit of brie there, let it soften up a bit, take the skin off most of it. 60 grams of that. 2 eggs, 80 mils of oil, generous 3 tablespoons of grated cheddar, and then 350 grams of plain flour. Now you're also going to want some mustard. Okay, mustard will be going into this mix, but also we'll be using some egg white and some of that mustard when we come to decorate it with the sesame seeds, as it were. Okay, now we don't need to worry about the oven to start off with because it's going to go and chill in the fridge for an hour before we roll it and cut the cookies or biscuits or crackers or whatever you want to call them. So in there's my butter, and what I'm going to do is I'm just going to, because it's not overly soft at the minute, I'm just going to give it a bit of a bash around, get it sort of moving, and then when I've softened it up a bit more, we'll add the cheese. Okay, so into that butter, I'm now going to put that teaspoon of salt and that 60 grams of cheese. Okay, and now what we're going to do is we're now just going to blend all of this together. Okay, as well as we can do. So like I say, I've given you a list of all the ingredients. Once we've got the dough made, and it's a nice pliable dough, it'll just be going into the fridge, wrapped in cling film, for about an hour before we move on to the next bit. So just going to get this blended a little bit more. I'm probably going to switch over to my hard whisk, if you like. My normal metal whisk is a bit too soft, I think, for this mixture, certainly at this stage. So I'm going to use my hard plastic one. So I've got my 2 eggs already here. In they go. And we're just going to mix these in as best we can. And then the next thing will be the 80 mils of oil. Now I'm using sunflower oil. You could use olive oil if you want, but you're probably better something like sunflower given the nature of these cookies. But to be honest, with the other flavours in there, I don't think olive oil is going to make an awful lot of difference to the overall flavour. Okay, so I'm just going to try and get this broken up a little bit better, and then we'll add in that oil. So there's my 80 mils of oil going into there, and now I'm just going to whisk all that in, and we need to try and get rid of most of them lumps of that butter, okay, and the cheese. So you're going to need some mustard. Okay, I've got some ordinary Dijon mustard there. You can put whatever mustard in you like, to be honest. Okay, and like I say, we're going to put some mustard into this mix, and for that we're going to add at this stage 2 teaspoons of mustard. So 1, whoop, got that everywhere. Now I'm going to keep that because, like I said, we're going to use that later. Okay, so now we're just going to get that all mixed in, and then before we add the flour, our next thing will be our grated cheese. So in goes that cheese. Okay, like I say, it was generous 3 tablespoons. 3 tablespoons full. Obviously this isn't going to dissolve into that mixture. What we're going to do, And I did quite a fine grate on that cheese as well, because I thought that would help blend it in. Just give that a good mix together. And when we think that's just about there, we'll start adding in that 350 grams of plain flour. And then probably a little bit at a time until we've got it ready like a dough that we won't need to knead it as such, but that is a nice pliable dough if you wanted to knead it. Okay, so let's start blending in some of that flour, and we'll just keep going till that's all been incorporated into that mixture. So there it's quite a soft dough, but it's sticking together. It's not sticking to the hands anymore. If you need to, you can add a little bit more flour just to get to that stage. So all we're going to do now is, like I say, I'm going to put it in some cling film, and that's then going into the fridge for an hour to chill down. And then when we're ready to do the next bit, you'll want some wax paper to do the rolling, a cookie cutter, you can have a fancy one, plain round one, whatever. You're going to want our sesame seeds, an egg white, another teaspoon of mustard, and the oven on at about 170, because we'll be baking about 15 to 20 minutes. So that's going off for an hour. So here we go, we've had an hour chilling. So I'm just going to put that bar to one side. I've got some sesame seeds ready to sprinkle on them. So the next thing we're going to do is just prepare the wash to go on top. So I've got one egg white in there, and then I'm going to add a teaspoon of mustard, which is just about all that's in here, to be honest. And I'm just going to mix that together lightly. And then I've got a brush ready just to apply that to the top of the cookies. I've got a cookie cutter, like I say, you can do whatever size you like, and some sesame seeds to sprinkle on top. But I think that's just about done there. So all I'm going to do here is some wax paper. I've got my oven on preheating, so what I'm going to do is I'm just going to take chunks of that, lay it between that, and then we're just going to roll it out before we can start cutting it. So there's one little batch rolled out. So all I'm going to do is just go along. Now this dough is quite oily, if you like, it's quite soft. Okay, so it's going to be a little bit tricky just picking it out, each one. That won't go. But we can gently peel them off, lay them on our baking sheet, and we'll do the washing afterwards. So I'm just going to go through now, get these all cut, all that rest of that dough, get it laid out, and we'll be ready to finish do the finishing touches before we bake it. So we take our egg white and mustard mix, and we just brush a nice little coating on top of each one, and then all we do then is we take some sesame seeds and just sprinkle them on top. Now you could, if you want, use any other kind of seed you want. You could use some sunflower seeds if you want. Like you may have gathered, I have a shed load of sesame seeds, so I'm using them. So I'm going to get them finished, and then like I say, they go in the oven for 15 to 20 minutes, 175. So there we go, that's them out of the oven. These are the ones I've done earlier. Some of these were a little bit smaller and a little bit cooked a little bit longer than the others, so let's try it out. Definitely get that cheese and the mustard. That's time my tummy to take them out, but they're done. So they do remind me very much of a cheese scone, okay? But like I say, with that added little, not overpoweringly so, but that added little kick of mustard. So there you go. Some salty cheese biscuits, crackers, cookies, whatever you want to call them.